Welcome, my family. Before we jump in, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. I'd also love to know where are you watching from and what time is it there. Please hype me on YouTube. Thanks. I still remember the fall of 2017 like it was yesterday. Back then I was 7 months pregnant with my daughter. My name is Emily Carter, and to be honest, life was nothing close to easy. My mother had passed away when I was very young, and my father was never in the picture. I grew up feeling like I didn't really belong anywhere, until my Aunt Linda took me in. She was kind, selfless, and in many ways the mother I never had. When I found out I was pregnant, I was terrified. But Aunt Linda never once judged me. She just looked me in the eye and said, "Emily, you and that baby are family, and family doesn't walk away." Those words carried me through some of the hardest nights. But that year, something happened that still sends chills down my spine. It was late October in Springfield, Ohio, the air crisp and the trees painted orange and red. Aunt Linda had been sick for a couple of days, fever, chills, body aches. She could barely get out of bed. I wanted to cheer her up, so I decided to make a quick run to Dollar Mart, a small discount store just a few blocks from our house. She loved a certain brand of barbecue chips, and I thought maybe surprising her with them would brighten her mood. Pregnancy made walking uncomfortable, but I told myself, it's just a quick trip. I'll be back in 20 minutes. The store was quiet when I walked in. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead and only a couple of other shoppers browsed the aisles. I held my belly as I wandered down the snack aisle, scanning the shelves. That's when I noticed her. An old woman, maybe in her late 60s. She had thinning gray hair tied into a bun, a faded floral sweater, and a smile that felt wrong, too wide, too fixed. She was standing at the end of the aisle, staring directly at me. When our eyes met, she slowly walked closer. Old woman. "Looking for something, dear?" Me, smiling politely. Yeah, my aunt likes these barbecue chips. I can't seem to find them." Old woman. "I know exactly where those are. Come with me." Something about her voice was off, too eager, but I followed anyway, telling myself she was just being helpful. She led me 2 aisles down and picked up the exact chips I was looking for. Me. "Thank you so much." Old woman, smiling wider. "Do you live around here?" The question caught me off guard. Me. Yeah, nearby." Old woman, eyes flicking to my stomach. "And are you married?" Me, hesitant. "No." Old woman, soft chuckle. "So, you're all alone?" Me, "Not really, my aunt's with me." Her expression shifted, like she was disappointed in that answer. Then she leaned closer and whispered, "Old woman, raising a baby is hard. I could help you, you know. I have a farmhouse outside of town. You could come live with me. I'd take care of you and your baby. You'd never have to worry about a thing." My stomach dropped. Was she serious? Me, forcing a smile. "That's nice of you, but I'm fine. Really." Old woman, grabbing my hand suddenly, grip like iron. "Think about it, dear. I really want to help you." My heart started pounding. I yanked my hand back and mumbled, "I need to go." Then I walked away as quickly as I could, went straight to the register, paid, and tried to calm down. Just a weird encounter, I told myself. Nothing more. But it wasn't over. On my way out, I felt the urge to use the restroom. Pregnancy made that unavoidable. The store restroom was in the back, dimly lit, with a cracked mirror and the faint smell of bleach. I went into a stall, locked it, and sat down, trying to steady my nerves. Then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, dragging, the sound of shoes scraping against the tiled floor. I froze. A shadow appeared beneath the stall door. Someone was standing right outside. Me, loudly. "Occupied." No response. The shadow didn't move. And then, a creak. I looked up and nearly screamed. A face was peeking over the stall door. It was her. The same old woman. Her eyes were wide, her smile grotesque. Me. "Oh my God, go away." Her voice dropped to a whisper, low and chilling. Old woman, I want your baby. Give it to me. Tears blurred my eyes. She rattled the stall door, trying to force it open. Me. Leave me alone. Adrenaline surged through me. I braced myself, then kicked the stall door with all the strength I had. It slammed into her face with a sickening crack. She stumbled back with a groan. I didn't wait. I shoved the door open, sprinted past her, and ran out of the restroom. My hands were shaking so badly I didn't even wash them. When I reached the parking lot, I saw her again. She was following me, limping, blood trickling from her nose, but still smiling. I fumbled with my keys, jumped into my car, and locked the doors. She staggered up to my window and slammed her palms against the glass. Old woman, screaming. Give me your baby. Give it to me. I screamed, started the car, and tore out of the parking lot. In my rearview mirror, I saw her running after me, her arms outstretched, but I didn't look back again. When I got home, I told Aunt Linda everything. She was horrified, furious even, and insisted we call the police. But I was too scared. Who would believe me? For days I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that smile, those words. Then, a week later, I saw something in the local newspaper that made my blood run cold. A pregnant woman had gone missing. The last place she was seen, that very dollar mart. No one ever found her, or her baby. And deep down, I know who was behind it. That old woman. Sometimes when I close my eyes at night, I still hear her whisper, I want your baby. I was 13 when this happened, and even now, years later, I can still remember every detail like it's carved into my mind. My parents were in the middle of a messy divorce. The house was filled with shouting, doors slamming, and long silences that felt heavier than words. I hated being home. Most days I'd escape, either spend hours at my friend Rachel's place or just wander around town by myself. The only thing that kept me sane back then was sketching. Drawing became my little world. Whenever my chest felt heavy with sadness or my head buzzed from all the arguments, I'd grab my sketchbook and pencil. People, trees, random buildings, anything I saw could become lines and shapes on paper. It was the one thing I could control when everything else in my life felt like it was falling apart. Because I went through sketchbooks quickly, I often biked over to Value Mart, this discount store near my neighborhood in Maplewood, Illinois. They sold cheap art supplies, and it was close enough that I didn't have to explain much to my parents. One Friday evening, right before the sun went down, I decided to go there alone. I parked my bike outside, locked it casually, and headed in. At first, it felt like any normal trip. I walked straight toward the stationery aisle, scanning the shelves for the familiar brown sketchbooks I liked. But then, I felt it. That prickly sensation you get when someone is watching you. I turned my head slightly. There was a man at the end of the aisle staring at me. He was dressed bizarrely, like some kind of pirate. He had a floppy hat, a dirty coat with gold buttons, and even smeared black eyeliner around his eyes. For a split second, I thought it was funny, like maybe he was headed to a costume party. But then I saw the way he staggered when he walked. The glazed look in his eyes, and the bottle-shaped bulge sticking out of his pocket. He was drunk. He stumbled closer, grinning. Man. Well, hello there, little lady. Want to join me on my pirate ship? I froze, clutching the sketchbook in my hand. Me. No. I'm fine. I tried to walk away, but he followed me, swaying slightly, reeking of alcohol. Man. Chuckling. I've got treasure, you know, real treasure. Come with me, I'll show you where I buried it. My heart started pounding. I didn't want to cause a scene, but every bone in my body screamed, get away. I hurried to the checkout counter, slammed the sketchbook on the belt, and muttered a quick, just this, please, to the cashier. The man was still there, leaning against a shelf, watching me with that sloppy grin. When I left the store, I thought it was over. The cool evening air hit my face and I breathed out in relief. But then I heard it. His voice, echoing from behind me. Man. Hey, little lady, come back here. I ignored him and walked faster toward my bike. But when I got closer, my stomach dropped. He was on it. The pirate man was sitting on my bicycle, wobbling side to side, laughing like a madman. "Man, look, I'm riding your ship now." He pushed off and started pedaling in crooked circles before pointing the front wheel straight at me. His laughter turned into a high-pitched cackle. "Man, I'm gonna catch you." Panic surged through me. I dropped my bag and ran. My lungs burned almost instantly, my legs already aching, but I forced them to move. Tears blurred my eyes as I heard the squeak of my own bike tires chasing me down the empty street. Me, screaming, "Help! Somebody help me!" But Maplewood was quiet that evening. The houses nearby were dark, cars parked neatly in driveways. Nobody came out. My chest tightened, I couldn't breathe. My legs felt like they were going to give out. That's when headlights suddenly flooded the street ahead of me. A large pickup truck screeched to a stop. The driver's door flew open, and a man in his 40s jumped out. Driver: "Hey! What the hell are you doing?" The pirate man froze. For a second, he just sat there on my bike, his grin twitching. Then, like an animal startled, he turned the handlebars sharply and pedaled off toward the trees at the edge of the lot. I collapsed onto the sidewalk, sobbing. The truck driver rushed to me, kneeling down. "Driver, are you okay? Did he hurt you?" Me, shaking my head, crying, He stole my bike. He was chasing me." The driver pulled out his phone and called the police immediately. He stayed with me, sitting on the curb, until the officers arrived. By then, my bike was found abandoned near the woods. The man was gone, vanished into the night. The police never found him. They gave me my bike back, but from that day on, I could never ride it without feeling my heart race. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can still see him. The drunken pirate, eyeliner smeared, pedaling toward me with that maniacal laugh, shouting, "I'm gonna catch you." That night has never left me. And some nights, it still chases me in my dreams. I was 19 when this happened, and even though years have passed, I still think about that night whenever I park my car alone after work. Back then, I worked at a discount store called Value One of those dollar stores you'll find in almost every small American town. I'd been there about 6 months, mostly covering the evening shifts because that worked better with my college classes. The store closed at 9 p.m. on weekdays, and even though we technically had a security guard, he was the kind of guy who scrolled his phone more than he actually watched the doors. My life during that time was simple but heavy. My parents were fighting a lot about bills, so I paid part of my tuition myself and worked extra shifts. Honestly, the job was boring, but it was my way of keeping some control in a world that often felt unpredictable. That night, though, rainy, quiet, the kind of night where you can hear every drip against the glass, it stopped being boring. It was around 8:30 p.m. when I first noticed him. The man walked in slowly, pulling the hood of his sweatshirt low over his face. Dark hoodie, jeans, beat-up sneakers. He didn't grab a basket, didn't look at the shelves like he wanted to shop. He just drifted from aisle to aisle, hands shoved in his pockets. I tried not to stare, but he gave me the creeps. Something about how he moved, hesitant but deliberate, like he was checking for something. After 15 minutes of wandering, he walked right out. Didn't buy a thing. I shook it off and went back to straightening candy at the register. But half an hour later, when I glanced out the front windows, I saw headlights idling in the rain. It was him. He was back. A dark, old sedan was parked right outside. The engine was running, exhaust puffing in the cold air, and he'd parked so close that his car was practically kissing mine in the lot. I leaned forward, trying to see clearly. The man sat behind the wheel, hoodie still up, face tilted toward the entrance of the store. He wasn't looking at his phone. He wasn't doing anything, just staring. My stomach tightened. When closing time rolled around, I felt my hands tremble as I counted out the till. My coworker had left early, so it was just me and the half-asleep guard. I texted my best friend Jenna, who lived only 10 minutes away. Me. Hey, can you pick me up from work? Some guy's parked right next to my car and won't leave. He's just sitting there. I don't feel safe walking out. She texted back almost instantly, Jenna, on my way. Don't go outside. Just stay inside till I pull up. It felt like hours, even though it was only 15 minutes. I pretended to keep counting bills, glancing up every few seconds. The man's car was still there. The headlights dimmed, but the engine was humming steady like he was waiting for something, waiting for me. At 9:10, Jenna's beat-up silver SUV pulled into the lot. Relief crashed over me so hard I almost cried. I grabbed my bag, nodded at the guard who barely looked up, and pushed open the glass doors. The air was sharp and cold. Rain soaked the asphalt, reflecting every streetlight like broken glass. My shoes slapped against the wet pavement as I rushed across to Jenna's car. The man's sedan was right there. I felt his eyes burning into me even though I refused to look directly. My pulse roared in my ears. I yanked open Jenna's passenger door and climbed in fast, locking it. Jenna, eyes wide. Holy shit, that's him, the one in the car? Me, whispering. Yeah, don't look at him too long. But she did. As Jenna pulled away, we both saw him turn his head. The hood slipped back just enough for me to catch his face, sharp jawline, pale skin, eyes so flat they looked almost gray. And he was glaring. Not just watching, glaring. His stare followed us as we drove off, his figure getting smaller in the rain-slicked rearview mirror. Jenna broke the silence first. Jenna, we should call the cops. That dude was waiting for you. Me, shaking my head. I don't know. What if they think I'm overreacting? He didn't actually do anything. Jenna, sitting in the lot next to your car for over an hour? That's not nothing. But I was too shaken, too scared to make the call. I just wanted to get home, crawl into bed, and pretend none of it had happened. Still, the drive was filled with one thought, circling over and over in my mind. What would have happened if Jenna hadn't shown up? What if I had walked out alone, keys in hand, trying to unlock my car door in the rain while he waited? I never saw him again after that night. But sometimes when I leave work late or when I see a dark car idling in a parking lot, my chest tightens, because I'll never really know what he wanted. And maybe that's the scariest part. I was 17 the year it happened. Just old enough to think I understood the world, but still too young to realize how fast everything can spiral out of control. I had a job at a small grocery store called Everfresh Market, tucked off Route 62 in the kind of town people usually just drive through on their way somewhere else. It wasn't glamorous, but the paychecks helped me keep gas in my car and gave me an excuse to avoid home most evenings. My mom worked double shifts at the hospital, and my stepdad, well, let's just say I didn't exactly enjoy being around him. At the store, I mostly stocked shelves, but sometimes I covered the registers. I wasn't alone, though. My girlfriend Kayla worked there too. She was 16, a junior at my high school, and she had this way of making the dullest shift feel lighter just by being around. We joked that working at Everfresh together was the only part of growing up that didn't totally suck. That night, though, nothing felt light. It was a Friday night in late October, the kind of night where the rain came down in sheets and the parking lot flooded so badly it looked like a shallow pond under the streetlights. Hardly anyone had come in all evening, just a few folks grabbing last-minute beer or bread before the weather got worse. I was stocking cereal when I first noticed it. Kayla came around the corner, clutching a box of plastic wrap. "Babe," she said, "come here. You gotta see this." Her voice wasn't playful. It was low, uneasy. I followed her toward the big front windows that overlooked the lot. Rain slapped hard against the glass, making it hard to see. But just beyond the row of cars where the shrubs lined the property, two stray dogs were standing still as statues. Their tails were tucked, ears flat. They were staring into the bushes like they were afraid. "What the hell are they looking at?" I asked. Kayla shook her head. "I don't know." They bolted out of nowhere and just froze. And then, just like that, the dogs took off, sprinting across the lot with their tails between their legs. That's when I saw it. Something shift in the bushes. Big, wrong-shaped. For a second I thought maybe it was a deer, but the way it moved, it wasn't right. And then I saw them, two glowing yellow eyes, catching the parking lot lights like mirrors. My stomach dropped. "Tell me you saw that," I whispered. Kayla's face was pale. "Yeah, I saw it." We went straight to the back room where Mr. Higgins, the store manager, was finishing his nightly paperwork. He was an old guy, mid-50s, the kind who never took anything seriously. "Hey," I said, trying not to sound like a little kid. "There's something outside, in the bushes, big, with, like, glowing eyes." He looked up from his paperwork and smirked. "Probably just a stray dog or a raccoon. Y'all been watching too many scary movies." Kayla crossed her arms. "No, this was bigger. Way bigger. It wasn't a raccoon." Mr. Higgins just waved us off. All right, just finish your shift and quit spooking yourselves. Last thing I need is y'all panicking customers over nothing." We looked at each other, both knowing we weren't crazy. By 9 p.m., the rain was still hammering down. Most of the lights in the store were dimmed, and it was just me, Kayla, and Luis, the overnight cleaner. He was in his mid-20s, quiet guy, but always friendly. Kayla and I were straightening the front aisles when we heard it, a low, guttural growl. "Did you hear that?" Kayla whispered. I nodded. The sound came again, deeper this time, vibrating through the floor. Then came the slam. The front door banged open so hard it hit the stopper. Rain and wind poured in. "Jesus Christ," Luis muttered, jogging up with a mop handle in his hand like it was a weapon. "Who the hell?" And that's when we saw it. The thing. Standing in the doorway was the creature. At first, my brain tried to tell me it was a man. Tall, hunched, shoulders too broad for its body. But then the shape registered, patches of matted, filthy fur clinging to grayish skin, long clawed fingers dragging almost to its knees, and those eyes, glowing yellow, fixed straight on us. It stepped forward, its bare feet slapping wet against the tile. The growl rattled through its chest, too low and too wrong to belong to anything human. "Run!" I shouted, grabbing Kayla's arm. But she froze. For a split second, she just stared like her body wouldn't listen to her brain. The thing lunged. I yanked her hard and we bolted toward the back, Luis right behind us. The sound of claws scraping tile echoed as it followed. We made it halfway down the aisle when Kayla slipped on the wet floor. I tried to pull her up, but the creature was faster. It slammed into her with a force that knocked me back. Her scream cut through the store, raw and terrified. I saw claws rake across her arm, blood spraying against the cereal boxes. "No!" I screamed, throwing a can of soup at its head. It barely flinched. Luis grabbed me, dragging me toward the stockroom. "We can't fight it, go!" I didn't want to leave her. Every instinct in me screamed to grab her, to pull her free. But the thing's massive frame was on top of her, its claws tearing, her screams turning into something choked and horrifying. Luis shoved me into the stockroom, slammed the metal door, and locked it. Outside, the growls and tearing sounds went on for what felt like forever. Then silence. We waited in that room for what could have been hours. I couldn't stop shaking. My hands were covered in Kayla's blood from when I tried to pull her up. Finally, when the store was dead silent except for the rain, Luis cracked the door open. The aisle was destroyed. Blood smeared across the floor, shelves knocked down. But Kayla, she was gone. No body. No trace of her except the blood. When the cops came, they treated it like a runaway case. Teenage girl goes missing during storm. They didn't believe us about the creature. Higgins told them we were kids making up a story. But I know what I saw. I know what took her. Even now, years later, sometimes when it storms, I swear I see yellow eyes in the tree line, watching, waiting. And I know Kayla's body will never be found, because it wasn't a person that took her. It was something else. I never really liked shopping, but when you're broke and living paycheck to paycheck, the Dollar Haven was where you went. That place had everything: cheap snacks, laundry soap, even the knockoff phone chargers that never lasted longer than a week. Back then, I was 19, juggling community college and working nights at a diner off the interstate. My girlfriend, Amber, lived just a couple blocks from me, and we'd usually run errands together on weekends. She was the kind of girl who could make even a dumpy discount store feel like a date. She'd pick up random things, scented candles, packs of gum, nail polish, and turn the trip into some kind of game. That Saturday was gray and wet, one of those sticky Midwest afternoons where the sky looked like it couldn't decide whether to pour or just hang heavy. Amber and I ducked into Dollar Haven mostly to kill time. She wanted cheap nail polish, and I was craving those $1 spicy chips. We hadn't been there long when I noticed him. He was hard to miss, a guy in his 40s, rough beard, greasy baseball cap. He had a 40-ounce bottle clutched in his hand like it was an extension of his arm, and another bulging from his jacket pocket. His steps were uneven, his shoulder kept smacking into shelves, and he reeked of alcohol so strong it cut through the faint smell of plastic and floor cleaner. Jesus, Amber muttered under her breath, nudging me. You see him? Yeah, I said quietly, pretending to look at the chip rack. Guy's wasted. The drunk muttered something at one of the cashiers, loud, slurred curses, and the poor girl behind the counter just froze. Another employee, this tall, skinny dude with a red apron, tried to shoo him out. Sir, you can't be drinking that in here. You need to leave, the guy said. The drunk barked out a laugh. You gonna make me? His words came out jagged, spit flying with every syllable. Amber squeezed my arm. Let's just grab our stuff and go. I don't like this. Yeah, I agreed. My gut was tightening. Finally, after some yelling and a lot of cursing, the employees managed to get him out. He stumbled into the parking lot, still shouting, his voice echoing in the glass doors as they shut behind him. Amber exhaled. Well, that was creepy. I tried to play it off, but my skin was prickling. Guy's probably just some drunk from the tavern down the road. We laughed it off, too quickly, but that laugh died the second we left the store. It was late afternoon by then, the sky darker than it should have been. We stepped out with our bags, the wet pavement reflecting the dim glow of the store lights. And there he was. The drunk stood just beyond the edge of the lot near the flickering streetlight. He wasn't yelling anymore, he wasn't stumbling, he was just staring. Amber tightened her grip on my hand. Babe, he's looking right at us. I swallowed hard. Ignore him. Just keep walking. We headed toward Amber's car, keeping our heads down. I could hear the man muttering, low at first, then louder, words slurred together like some broken record. You think you're better than me, huh? Think you can just laugh? I clenched my jaw. We hadn't laughed at him, not really, but it didn't matter. He had convinced himself we had. Amber whispered, He's following. I glanced back. Sure enough, he was moving toward us, his boots dragging across the wet asphalt, his bottle still in his hand. Hey! His voice cracked across the lot. Hey, kid! What the hell you looking at? I didn't answer. My heart was hammering in my chest. He quickened his pace, closing the gap. The distance between us shrank too fast. Suddenly he reached out and grabbed my shoulder, his grip like iron despite the booze. I spun, shoving his hand off. Back off, man. His bloodshot eyes locked on mine. Don't you tell me what to do. Don't you ever. Amber shouted. Leave us alone. Her voice shook, but she stood her ground. For a long second it felt like the world froze. Just the three of us in that parking lot, the rain starting to drizzle again, the hum of the streetlight buzzing overhead. Then, just as suddenly as he'd grabbed me, the drunk let go. His hand dropped. He sneered, muttered something I couldn't catch, and stumbled back a step. I didn't wait for him to change his mind. I grabbed Amber's hand. Go! We ran. We didn't stop until we reached her car. As Amber fumbled with the keys, I glanced back. The man was gone, Just gone. No sound of footsteps, no shadow retreating down the lot. It was like he had melted into the night. We sat in the car, both of us shaking. Amber's eyes were wide, her breath coming fast. I swear to God, I thought he was gonna... She broke off, her voice trembling. Me too, I admitted. My hands were still shaking on my knees. We didn't call the cops. We didn't tell our parents. We just drove, the silence heavier than any storm. And even now, months later, when I pass that dollar haven, I feel it. The weight of his stare, the sound of his muttering, the grip of his hand on my shoulder. And I wonder, what if he hadn't let go? I never thought a simple trip to the dollar store would turn into the worst nightmare of my life. Back then, I was just a regular guy living in a small town in Pennsylvania. My name's Caleb Foster, 27 years old, working part-time at a local hardware supply store, and trying to make ends meet while finishing my night classes. My girlfriend, Renee Carter, was my anchor. She was 24, fiery but sweet, the kind of girl who made you laugh when you were down, and who somehow knew exactly when to grab your hand when you were nervous. We weren't rich. Hell, most nights we ate ramen and dollar-frozen pizzas. But we had each other. And in a small town where everyone knew everyone's business, that was enough for me. It all started on a rainy Thursday evening. Renee had just gotten off her shift at the diner, still in her pink uniform and name tag, hair smelling faintly of fry oil and cheap vanilla perfume. "Caleb," she said as she hopped into my beat-up Ford Focus, "I need to stop at Green Mart. I saw these cute little frames last time, and I want to grab one for that picture of us at the fair. You know, the one where you look like you're about to throw up on the Ferris wheel." I laughed. "Yeah, the one where you look like you're holding me hostage." "Fine, let's go." Green Mart was basically our town's version of Dollar Tree, squeezed between a laundromat and a vape shop. Parking lot always half-cracked, one flickering light in the corner, and the automatic doors that groaned like an old man every time they opened. We walked in, greeted by that familiar mix of mop water, plastic toys, and fake lemon scent cleaner. Renee immediately beelined for the aisle with home decor while I grabbed a basket and wandered toward the snack section. "Babe, which one looks better?" she called, holding up two identical cheap plastic frames, one slightly shinier than the other. "They both look like they're made out of cereal box cardboard," I teased. "Shut up. This one's for us." She smiled, holding the shinier one. That's when it happened. A voice cut in, sharp, raspy. "That's mine." We both turned. Standing there was this woman, mid-30s maybe, stringy black hair plastered against her cheeks like she hadn't showered in days. Her clothes hung off her like she'd grabbed them out of a dumpster. But it wasn't the clothes that got me. It was her eyes. Wide, unblinking, like she hadn't slept in weeks. Excuse me?" Renee said, trying to be polite. "The frame. That one's mine," the woman snapped, pointing a shaking finger. Renee looked confused but calm. "Ma'am, there's like 10 more right here. You can grab one." "No," the woman hissed. "I want that one." I stepped closer to Renee. "Hey lady, relax. She just grabbed it off the shelf. There's plenty more." The woman's face twisted, and before I could react, she shoved Renee hard in the shoulder. Renee stumbled back, clutching the frame. "Yo, chill out," I shouted, stepping between them. Renee, never one to take crap from anyone, straightened up. "What the hell is your problem? Take another one." The woman leaned close, her breath sour with stale coffee or maybe booze. "You'll regret that. Both of you." Her voice, it wasn't just anger. It was a promise. Renee, fed up, smacked her hand away. "Back off." The woman sneered, spat on the ground, and stormed out. We stood frozen for a second, hearts racing. Renee broke the silence. "People are crazy, Caleb. Forget it. Let's just pay and go." We thought it was over, but it was just beginning. The next week, little things started happening. Renee's car tires slashed outside her apartment. My front door scratched up like someone dragged a key across it. At first, we brushed it off. Kids being dumb, random vandalism. But deep down, I knew. I knew it was her. One night, Renee was at my place, curled up with me on the couch watching Netflix. Rain hammered the windows, and the street outside was empty, except for the glow of the lamppost. "Caleb," she whispered. I looked down. She was pale, pointing toward the window. Across the street, half hidden behind a tree, stood the same woman, soaking wet, just watching. "Jesus Christ," I muttered, getting up. "Stay here." I yanked the door open, rain slapping me in the face. "Hey!" I shouted into the dark. The woman didn't move. She just stared. I took a step off the porch, and in the blink of an eye she turned and vanished into the shadows. When I came back in, Renee's hands were shaking. "Caleb, she's not normal. People don't just do this." I pulled her close. "I won't let her hurt you. I promise." But promises don't mean much when you're up against pure madness. Weeks passed. The harassment grew worse. One night, Renee's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Just a picture. Our picture. Torn in half. Another time, a dead bird showed up on my porch. We went to the cops, but small-town police don't do much without solid evidence. They told us to stay alert and call if she trespassed again. But she was always one step ahead. Then came the night that nearly broke us. It was late, past midnight. Renee had stayed after her diner shift to help clean up, so I drove to pick her up. Parking lot was empty, just a couple cars and that constant buzzing light overhead. She slid into the passenger seat, exhausted. "Thanks, babe, I swear my feet are gonna fall off." "Don't worry, I got you," I said, starting the car. That's when I saw her, in the rearview mirror, the woman, sitting in the back seat. "Cal!" Renee screamed, but before she could finish, the woman lunged forward, jamming something into my neck. Electricity shot through me. She had a damn taser. I convulsed, the car jerking forward. Renee grabbed at the woman, screaming, "Get off him!" They struggled, Renee clawing at her face, the woman snarling like an animal. I tried to fight, but my limbs felt like lead. The taser buzzed again, and I nearly blacked out. Through the haze, I heard Renee's voice, fierce and panicked. "You're not taking him, you hear me?" The woman growled, fumbling in her bag. My vision blurred, but I caught the glint of something metallic, an iron pipe. She swung, catching Renee across the jaw. Renee collapsed against the window, dazed. "No!" I roared, summoning strength I didn't know I had. I elbowed backward, catching the woman in the ribs. She shrieked, dropping the taser. I grabbed it and jabbed it against her shoulder. She convulsed, screaming, before scrambling out the car door and into the night. We sat there in stunned silence, both shaking, both bleeding. Renee's voice cracked. "She's gonna kill us, Caleb. She's not gonna stop." She was right, and we both knew it. The final encounter came 2 nights later. Renee was staying at my place for safety. Around 2 a.m., I woke to the sound of glass shattering. "Caleb," Renee whispered, clutching my arm. We crept out of the bedroom. Living room window, smashed, curtains fluttering in the cold night air. Then we heard it, a voice. Low, sing-song. "Caleb, Rini, come out, come out." Renee's face drained of color. Footsteps creaked across the wooden floor. I grabbed the baseball bat by the door, heart pounding like a war drum. Suddenly she appeared in the hallway, eyes wide, wild grin splitting her face. In one hand, a knife. In the other, a lighter and a can of gasoline. "Tonight," she whispered, "you both burn." I didn't think. I swung the bat as hard as I could. It connected with a sickening crack. She stumbled back, screaming, dropping the lighter. Renee kicked the knife out of her hand, adrenaline fueling her. "Not today, bitch." Neighbors must have heard the commotion, because within minutes, sirens blared. Cops stormed in, tackling the woman as she thrashed and cursed, spitting like a rabid dog. They dragged her out, screaming, "You'll regret this, both of you." But this time, we knew she wasn't coming back. Turns out she wasn't just some random woman, she was from a wealthy family in the next county over. Schizophrenic history, covered up for years with money. They tried to bribe us, hush it up. But Renee and I refused. We wanted her locked away. And she was. But even now, months later, I still wake up at night, heart racing. Sure, I'll see her standing in the corner of the room, dripping gasoline, smiling that twisted smile. And every time Renee reaches over, squeezes my hand and whispers, "She can't hurt us anymore." I nod. But deep down, I wonder. Because some scars don't fade, and some nightmares don't end.